Hello, my name is Daniel Hudson, and I'm a sophomore at Tennessee Tech University. And today I'm going to be explaining the game of chess and how it's played and the history of it. So, so Gail General said that India was the first country to start playing chess, and that was in the fifth or sixth century. And back then it was more of a chance and dice game, and now it's more strategy. And back then, rich people played chess, but now anyone can play chess, any age, any like status. So the how to set up a chessboard. You first set up a chessboard by putting it the right direction, which at the bottom left corner, it should be a white square in terms of where you're sitting. Uh, 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 so you should have 16 pieces per person. So 16 white, 16 black, 8 pawns, 2 rooks, 2 knights, 2 bishops, 1 queen, and 1 king. And Regency Chess said that you first start with a pawn. The pawn is a short piece that's rounded on the top, and you put all those pieces on the second row. Second, you do the rook, which is a castle, looks like a castle, and you put those on the corners. Third, you put the knight down that looks like a horse, and you put that inside a rook on the first row. The next is bishop. You put that is a rounded bishop, and it looks like a slit. There's a slit at the top, and you put that inside the knight. Next, you put the queen down. The queen is tall, work a circle on top, and that one's right next to the king and inside the other bishop. And last is the king. The king has a cross on the top, and it's in the middle of the board, and it's the most important piece. So how do you play chess? So how do you start? A person with a white piece starts. So you choose who has a white piece, and that's what starts the game. So the Lichess also said that to start the game, a pawn can move up 2 spaces forward, but its normal movement is 1 forward, and you can't move 2 forward after its first movement, and it can only attack diagonally. So it's different from the others, which I'm going to talk about later, which can only attack normally how they normally move. But this one moves forward but attacks diagonally. So the rook moves horizontally and vertically for as many spaces in any direction. The knight moves in the L shape, which is the hardest. It's 2 spaces up or 1 across, or 1 space up or 2 across. The bishop moves diagonally as many spaces in any direction until it runs out of space. Queen is the most versatile. It moves horizontally, vertically, or diagonally as many spaces in any direction. The king moves horizontally, vertically, and diagonally, but only in 1 space. And it can only move if it's not in check. So attacking, when your piece lands in another player's square, then you can take that spot with your piece, and their piece is out of the game. Each piece can only attack the direction they normally move, except pawn, who can attack diagonally but move forward, like I said. So it's very important to know check and checkmate. So the king is in check when the square it occupies is attacked by 1 or more of the opponent's pieces. A player can't remain in check and has to move their king or another piece, so the king is not in check anymore. So in this instance, the bishop is put the king in check, so you can move the queen, the bishop, or the knight to block the bishop. Or if that pawn right here moved, then you can move the king, and then I can get him out of check. So checkmate, though, is when you can't move or can't block, and at this point the person is in checkmate and the game is over. And yeah. So the other rules of chess: if a player gets a pawn to the opposite side of the board, they can replace it with any piece that they lost. Each player only gets 1 move per turn, which is obvious. And once you take your hand off the piece, the player's turn is over. So once this happens, there's no going back. And if you get a pawn to the other side, you can replace it with any piece you lost. So like a queen, if you lost a queen, if you get it to where they were, then you take the pawn out of the game, you replace it with the queen. And third, no jumping over pieces unless you're using a knight. So how do you win? Well, you win by putting another player's king in checkmate, which I already said, but you can also tie. That's if you can't get out of check, or if you have 2 kings left and you're a stalemate, you can't win. So you can't get close enough to attack each other. So at that point, if you can't move or you can't make any legal moves, then it's a stalemate or a draw. So in conclusion, chess has changed all over in the last 2,000 years. It's evolved but it's a very cool game to play. It's hard at times. You have to use strategy, but it's definitely worth playing. And if you have any questions, ask me or look it up. It's a very easy game to find how to play. And so I hope you like the game of chess, and I hope you play it soon.